Red and blue lights filled up our driveway like the 4th of July, except nobody was celebrating, and I can tell you, I sure as hell wasn't in the mood for fireworks. The HOA president, yeah, her called the cops and told them my wife was a prostitute just because she walked into our own damn home. Doors were flying open up and down the street, neighbors coming out in their pajamas, hoping to catch a little drama before bedtime. 3 cops stepped up on my porch, hands close to their guns, treating us like a couple of fugitives. "Ma'am, we need you to step outside," one of them called through the door. There was Constance Palmage, the queen of Riverside Heights, HOA, standing on our lawn. Arms crossed, that smug smile plastered across her face like she just won the lottery. "That's her," she said, pointing right at my wife. The suspicious woman. My wife, Sarah, stepped out calm as a lake at sunrise, didn't say a word. The lead cop looked at her, then he froze. And I swear, right in that moment, I watched Constance's little victory smile slide right off her face because she'd just kicked off a chain reaction she couldn't take back. Next time she saw Sarah, it wouldn't be on a porch. It'd be in court. And let me tell you, karma's got a real mean sense of humor. Let me back up a sec. This whole thing started because of me, Derek Castellano. 52 union electrician hands, so calloused I barely feel splinters anymore. My back reminds me every morning about that time I fell off a scaffold 6 months ago. But who's counting? I still build furniture late into the night in my garage, half for therapy, half because it keeps me from thinking about the years after my first wife Emma passed from cancer. Those were the dark days, single dad son Jake, just a teen working double shifts just to keep the lights on and the creditors at bay. I thought that was it for me, no more hope, no more second chances. But then Sarah walked in. I met her at this electrical safety seminar, asked smart questions, laughed at my dumb jokes, made me feel seen again. She was everything I didn't expect, sharp, kind, big-hearted, a laugh that could light up the worst of days. We had a courthouse wedding, kept it simple, and for 3 months I thought life was finally going to let me catch my breath. What I didn't know was Sarah had just accepted a gig that was about to blow up our lives, a seat as municipal judge for our county. She kept work and home separate at first, wanting to give us space to settle in, but I should have known nothing stays secret forever around here. Riverside Heights. You ever been to one of those neighborhoods where the grass is cut so perfect it looks fake, and there's always some lady pacing up and down looking for something to yell about? That's Constance Karen, really. Palmage. For 6 years, she ran this place like a dictator with a clipboard. If you weren't wealthy, weren't part of her clique, or didn't fit her vision of community standards, you were a problem. What nobody realized was behind her perfectly manicured hedges, she was running illegal Airbnbs and dodging taxes. But her favorite sport, making life hell for people she didn't like. So here's how it all kicked off. Sarah had just started moving her stuff in. She worked crazy hours setting up her new courtroom so she'd pull into our driveway late with law books and robes still in the bag. One night I'm helping her unload her computer when bam, 2 Phoenix PD cruisers roll up. Neighbors start poking their heads out. The lead cop says, "We got a call about suspicious activity, sir." I feel my face burn, like seriously. Turns out Karen had called 911 because a woman was entering our house at unusual hours. And there she was across the street watching with binoculars. Now you'd think the police would realize pretty quick this was just some neighbor being a busybody, but Karen had planted the seeds. She wanted us embarrassed, isolated. The police left with some awkward apologies, but the damage was done. I couldn't sleep. My wife just wanted to move her books in, and now the whole neighborhood thought we were running some kind of operation out of our garage. The next morning, I decided enough was enough. 3 days later, I get an $800 fine from the HOA unauthorized commercial vehicle my work truck parked in the driveway. Never mind, it had been there 3 years and was registered. Karen had just been waiting for an excuse to go after us. That $800 stung. Workman's comp was still caught up in red tape, and side gigs were the only thing keeping us afloat. But Sarah, she just watched me waiting to see if I'd fold or fight. You know what I said, folding the violation notice? Let's see what rules Karen's really playing by. I spent hours at the community center digging through the HOA covenants, tracing her enforcement patterns like I'd troubleshoot a tricky circuit. That's when I found that Karen's own house had 4 cars regularly parked on the street, each one a violation, each one a $50 a day fine according to her precious rules. Plus, my security camera caught her at 2 a.m., sneaking across the yard making noise so she could report disturbances the next morning. She was manufacturing complaints. The next HOA meeting was a show. Karen had her folder of evidence talking about unregistered individuals at my house, meaning Sarah, my wife. She tried to paint us as criminals. I let her finish, then I pulled out my own file photos of her cars, timestamps, bylaw sections highlighted. And then I showed my marriage certificate right there for the board. The best part, I played video from my security camera, Karen creeping across her yard watering rocks at 2 a.m. that hadn't seen water in years. The room went silent. 3 of our neighbors' folks she'd bullied shot me a thumbs up behind her back. You'd think she'd back down, right? Nope. She doubled down. Marriage certificate or not, this woman's behavior is suspicious, she snapped. Legitimate wives don't sneak around at midnight. Sarah just smiled and said, "Those were law books. I work late." The HOA board started to squirm. The real twist, Karen had no clue Sarah was a judge. And the more she pushed, the closer she came to blowing herself up. 3 weeks later, Karen called the cops again, claimed domestic violence this time. I woke up to blue lights and was cuffed on my own lawn while my stepson watched through the window, scared out of his mind. Sarah had to convince the officers that she was fine, no violence, nothing. The body cam footage later showed Karen in her bathrobe telling the dispatcher about screaming she never actually heard. All lies. That was the last straw for Sarah. She sat me down and told me everything about her new job, her court's jurisdiction, how she couldn't get involved directly, but that Karen was playing a losing game. Every legal move Karen made would eventually land in Sarah's court. Sarah's old law school friend Lisa agreed to help us. Lisa called a few days later, said the body cam proved Karen was lying, and now we had evidence for a real counterattack. From then on, our house was mission control. I upgraded our security, installed 8 4K cameras, started organizing evidence. Turns out I wasn't alone. Betty, the 78-year-old down the block, showed me audio recordings of Karen threatening her grandson over a motorcycle. Tom and Linda Morrison brought in photos violation notices, all cross-referenced to show Karen's selective enforcement. And public records showed Karen was making $15,000 a year from illegal rentals, not paying a dime in taxes. Sarah never gave me legal advice, couldn't? But over dinner, she'd talk about how courts handled harassment cases, what kind of evidence mattered. I put it all together, every detail, every file. Karen's attacks were building a perfect case against herself. When the certified letter arrived, petition for a restraining order, full emergency hearing, I almost laughed. Karen's petition was a work of fiction, but she'd just put everything on record. Lisa, our attorney, called it classic intimidation, hit us on all sides, make it so hard to fight back we'd give up. But the opposite happened. I got laser focused. Betty recruited 2 more families. Tom got in touch with a former board member who'd quit over Karen's bullying. Linda brought in stories from families who'd moved away because of her. Karen never understood fear only works if people have something left to lose. She'd already taken my peace of mind, nearly cost me my marriage and my job. I had nothing left but my home, and I was ready to fight. The day of the hearing, Karen showed up in a designer suit with her board members in tow, reporters hovering around. She declared to Channel 12 that she was protecting the community from neighborhood terrorists. Inside, I sat with Lisa, my 3 binders of evidence, and my neighbors. The bailiff called all rise for the Honorable Judge Sarah Castellano. Karen's face went from smug to pale in 3 seconds. "Your Honor, there's been some mistake. This is the woman I'm filing against." "Sarah." "Calm as you please," replied Mrs. Palmage. "I am your honor. You filed for a restraining order against a sitting municipal judge. Let's proceed. Karen tried to present her case: blurry cell phone photos, fake noise complaints. My evidence wiped the floor with her security footage, audio recordings, financial records, neighbor testimony. The best moment, Sarah in her robe announced, "This matter is referred to the district attorney for possible perjury charges." Karen's restraining order was denied. Her costs, $200 in court fees, $200 in fines. The IRS got involved for the unpaid taxes. Her illegal Airbnb shut down. And she resigned as HOA president within 48 hours, citing personal health reasons. I got elected to the HOA board. My first move was to make all violations require evidence, due process, and a committee vote. No more kangaroo court. We opened the budget, started audits, set up an anti-harassment policy. Sarah's mediation program for HOA disputes cut harassment cases by 70%, became a model statewide. My workers' comp claim was finally approved, my side business grew, and Sarah's court career soared. The best part, our neighborhood finally started acting like a real community again. Folks who'd left because of Karen came back. We set up a seniors electrical safety program, saved a few lives, and turned Karen's violation money into new playground equipment. The irony, she ended up funding what she'd fought against with her own cash. 6 months later, I get a call from someone across town. "Heard what you did to Karen. Think you could help me." Turns out I'd become the go-to guy for fighting HOA abuse. I never wanted that, but I'll be damned if I don't help where I can. So what's the lesson? Sometimes life puts you in the crosshairs of someone who's convinced they're untouchable. Someone who hides behind rules and power, thinking nobody can fight back. But you push the right person too far, and sometimes the law and a little cosmic justice pushes back harder. I learned when bullies overplay their hand, they dig their own grave. Now I gotta ask, have you ever seen karma play out like that? Do you think justice was served, or does the system still protect the wrong people sometimes? Tell me your own HOA horror stories, drop them in the comments. And if you stuck around for this wild ride, hit that like button, subscribe for more underdog victories. And don't let the bullies write the rules. Everybody deserves a place to call home.